All right, hello everyone. I'm Mr. Solt, and I am today working on Mr. Baskin's Algebra 1 General Notes More Zero Product Law. All right, More Zero Product Law. All right, it should look like this, More Zero Product Law. Well, so you've been working, so hopefully you've been seeing the zero product law's importance, right? The zero product law, when you have two things that multiply together, and if you know they multiply together and equal zero, then you know that one or both has to be zero. It finally allows us, in certain situations, the zero product law, to solve equations that are higher order polynomials than just linear. Of course, for the zero product law to work, we must have two conditions met. We must have the equation set equal to zero, and we must be able to factor the expression equal to zero. So we need to make sure the equation is equal to zero, and we need to make sure we can separate that expression into at least two things which are being multiplied together, which give us zero. Okay, so which means we need to be able to factor these things. All right, let me see if Teacher Mate is going to work for me well today. All right, solve each of the following equations using factoring. So I would recommend you pausing me right now and giving these a shot if you can. And then you let me go do my thing after you've already tried this, because you'll learn a lot more if you're actually attempting and struggling. I know it feels uncomfortable to struggle, but I mean, just like you're lifting weights, you build muscle by pushing the limits, by doing the max that you can do. Pushing yourself to the limit builds muscle. Pushing yourself to an uncomfortable place in math builds math muscles. All right, so pause me, give that a pause, and we'll pick it back up. Great. I'm glad you trusted yourself enough to at least try these. You'll actually, believe it or not, you'll learn even by failing. Even if you don't know anything, doing one thing, even one thing, will help you learn. Even if you don't get the right answer, you actually learn more when you don't get the right answer than when you do. It's because you're surprised by the outcome when you don't get the right answer. All right. So I see that there's an x squared here. The only way for me to get an x squared is if x is being multiplied by x. Right? If x is a number, it's being multiplied by x. So then when you take the same number and you multiply it by itself twice, it's the number squared. So the fact that I have x squared here means somehow I am multiplying x times x. All right, then I'm going to ignore the middle for a quick second, and I'm just going to think about this number here. I need two numbers, here and here, and they're going to need to multiply together to give me negative 35. That means that negative means that one of these has got to be positive, and the other has got to be negative. All right, that negative in the C term tells me that one of these has got to be positive, one of these has got to be negatives. I'm thinking about factors of 35. Factors of 35. What are all the factors of 35? Let me run down the factors of 35. There's 1 times 35. That'll give me 35. 2 doesn't work. 3 doesn't work. 4 doesn't work. 5 will work, right? 35 divided by 5 is 7. Therefore, 5 times 7 is 35. And I think that's it. That's all the factors. So I only have two pairs of factors to worry about. 1 times 35 and 5 times 7. And of course, it's going to be 5 and 7, right? Because I'm looking at that middle term. Now that I have my factors in my head, I need these two factors to be able to add up to positive 2 when I get done with this thing. So how am I going to get a positive 2? Well, the two factors that kind of come close to having a difference of 2 is 5 and 7. So I'm going to use 5 and 7, and I want a positive 2, which means I'm going to put the bigger number towards the positive, right? If I put the 7 here, that will mean when I add this up, I'll get more positives than I have negatives, which will leave me with a positive 2 remainder. So let me just think about this real quick to see if I got this right. X times x is x squared. Good. Positive 7 times negative 5 is negative 35. Good. And then positive 7x and negative 5x added together gives me positive 2x. Great. This is factored. This is good. Life is swell. And it says to solve each of the following equations. Okay, so here's what I got. Zero product law says if I have two things being multiplied together and the product is 0, that means that one of them has to be 0 and possibly both are 0. Okay, well, let me try to figure out what does it mean to say that both of these could be 0. Both of these could be 0. Well, let me set this equal to 0. And let me set this one equal to 0. And let me find out what x would be in each case. Now, after you get good at this, you won't have to do this step anymore. You'll be able to do it most of this time. Most often, you'll be able to do this in your head. But when you start out, you'll say, okay, what if x plus 7 is 0? Well, then, to find out what x is, I got a minus 7. I got a minus 7. And therefore, x is equal to negative 7. Notice how it just became the opposite of whatever that was. If x minus 5 equals 0, how do I find out what x is? I add 5 over here. That gets rid of that. If I do it on an equation, it's like a balance beam. If I do something to one side of the equation, I got to do it to the other. X equals 5. X could be negative 7, x could be 5, or it could be both. So I have two answers. I'm tempted to circle these. Oh, that was terrible. And all right, my x equals negative 7, my x equals 5. Okay. That's the first one. I'm going to stop this video right here because I got to go to class. All right, so I'll continue this in the next video.